So I let my wife try the Kubota zero turn, and it was pretty funny, so I had to put that in here. But let me get to this video here. So I know probably from the title you're wondering what I bought and all that, or what did I get? And it's been a while since I've owned one of these, so without further ado, we have a V8. But anyway, guys, yeah, I haven't owned a V8 in probably 4 years. Since I started this project, you know, it was, got rid of my race car, and then in another year and a half after that is when I bought this and started this inline 6-cylinder deal. So yeah, this is the first V8 I've had in a while, and I'll tell you what it is. It's a Explorer GT40 long block. Okay, it was all, I took it all apart. It was all together. Okay, it had it's got GT40P heads, you know, stock crank, and I picked this up for 500 bucks on Facebook. So come to find out, what I didn't know before I bought it, because I just bought it kind of sight on scene. I'm like 500 bucks. It's got GT40P heads. Those alone sell for $300-400 on eBay. So, you know, and so I didn't think it was a bad deal, even if it needed work. But so I started tearing it down, and on the side of the block, okay, right here, I didn't know what that was, and I kind of cleaned it off and looked at it really closely. And what it is, it's been remanufactured. Okay, this block is 30 over already. Okay, it was remanufactured in 2001, and yeah, it's 30 over. The crank right there, the crank has been turned, so it's 10 undersized, which means you have it's an oversized bearing to make up for it. So the crank's been turned. It's got some SRP cast pistons. I cleaned one of them up. This is what they look like when they came out, and this is a cleaned up one. So the pistons are in really good shape, but they're cast, so I'm not going to use them, or the rods. Okay, so I am going to reuse the crank. Okay, we're going to keep this a 306. I'm going to reuse the crank. I'm going to order a set of Ross pistons and a set of Scat H-beam or I-beam rods. Okay, I found a pretty good deal on them. Summit's got them. I think the pistons are like 80 bucks a piece. The rods are like $250 for a set of rods, and then we'll have to take the crank and the rods and pistons and all that and go get it balanced, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. I bet that the Ross pistons and the I-beam rods are probably a very similar weight. Now, if I get the pistons and rods and rings and all that, and I weigh them, and they weigh really close to what one of those weigh, you know, so if it weighs similar to what these weigh, sorry, I don't know why I'm trying to explain this, but you guys probably understand what I mean. If the weight difference is way off, I'd have to get it balanced. But if it's off only by a little bit, you don't have to, okay? I know this from previous experience. So, yeah, so I took apart the block. Everything is pretty good. I did a light hone on it. I've got a honer, just like a handheld drill honer, and I honed it out. Everything looks pretty good. This one here has a little bit of a weird spot in it, but it's not really any kind of indentation. It's more of just a color, okay? Like I don't really feel anything. Like you can scratch your fingernail on it and really not feel anything. What it was the piston sat right here, okay? And I think water got in here and just sat there for a little bit and just colored the cylinder wall. But everything seems to be okay. You know, it doesn't seem to be an issue. So, and believe me, I've put together way worse. And I'll tell you a story. I had a 347 dart block with Trick Flow 185s on it, and I destroyed the motor. I missed the tune by a lot, blew up one piston, and that piston went throughout the entire motor because I ran it out the back not knowing that one piston let go. So it went up into the intake, went into all the cylinders, just destroyed the heads, both heads, from one piston going bad, destroyed both heads, scarred the block like you wouldn't believe. I mean, there was chunks taken out of the cylinders that was like you could stick your fingernail in easily. Okay, it was all I did, I took the heads to my buddy Joe at Fast Forward Racing. He fixed the heads, he TIG welded up the heads and did a valve job. And I asked him, I'm like, what do I do with this block? This block, it looks destroyed. He says, you know what, Chris? He says, slap it back together and see what happens. So, I mean, what do I have to lose, right? So, because there was a race coming up I wanted to make. So I slapped the thing back together, and when I'm putting it together, this thing is like, I'm like, there's no way this is gonna seal. Sure enough, I get this thing back together, take it out, it goes faster, okay? I couldn't believe it. I actually picked up like a 10. I don't know why, but anyway, that's just a quick story on, you know, people try to make these, you know, like they really get picky on, you know, oh, it needs this tolerances and that and all this and has to be perfect. It really doesn't. I mean, if you want to, I don't know if you're doing like a reliable street car that you're driving every day, maybe so, I don't know. But if you're racing, I've seen some stuff slapped together that you would think wouldn't run. And they go out there and it's fast, okay? So anyway, forget that story. Back to this. All right, so what we need, when you get a GT40, so this is out of a 98 Explorer, okay? That's what this is out of. So when you get that, it came with you know, a GT40 intake, which I'm not going to use, the upper and lower. On the Explorer motor, you cannot use the valve chain cover. You can't use that, the water pump cover or whatever you call that. You cannot use the oil pan. What else? Yeah, and you need a different water pump too, okay? So I found those things online. I'm going to order all that stuff. So basically, so anyway, so basically I have everything I'm going to need, and I just started digging through, all my parts that I've had from years and years ago that I've kept in boxes. And I actually have a lot of stuff that is going to help me with this build. I have a set of, I actually bought these ARP head studs, okay, for a different motor, and I ended up ordering the wrong ones. These were for a 302, and I needed it for I need the 1/2 inch, and these are 7/16. So I just kept them because I figured, yeah, these are 7/16 for 302, and I don't know why I ordered the wrong thing. I needed to order the 1/2 inch for a 351. So I just kept them because I'm like, yeah, in the future maybe I'll need them. So I have a whole head stud kit. Okay, I've got all the gaskets I need. I've got valve seal gaskets. I've got intake gaskets, 2 sets of those actually, 2 sets. Valve cover gaskets, water pump gaskets. I got everything. Okay, and I even have, from when I built my 347 that I told you I blew up, I have the 030 ring compressor. So we have that. What else? yeah, I'm gonna reuse all the main caps. I'm gonna, you know, all the bolts and all that. I'm probably gonna reuse. I'm not gonna stud it or anything like that. I'm just gonna slap this thing together with on a budget. Okay, you know, the most expensive thing's that's gonna be in it is the pistons. So yeah, everything else looks really good. The block looks really good. It did have a bent push rod. It's slightly bent. Usually what that means, it could be something got in the lifter, maybe a lifter got clogged up or something like that, and it didn't compress and it just put pressure. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know how that got bent, but I may replace the lifters just to be safe on that, because if it did bend a push rod, you know, a set of lifters is not very expensive. I think they're like $100, maybe $80 for some Ford Motorsport lifters. And we're gonna get a new oil pump and a new pickup and obviously an oil pan too. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep this on a real tight budget. It's gonna be, I shouldn't have more than about $1,500–1,600 in this motor completely. Okay, I'm gonna reuse the heads, the GT40P heads. I'm gonna just clean them up and see how the valves are sealing. And when I get to that, I'll show you guys what I do to check to see if the valves are good and sealed. What else? And I'm gonna have to replace the springs, obviously, in the heads. You know, GT40P heads, they're good heads. You just have to replace the springs. You know, a lot of people buy the Trick Flow spring kit for them, and just replace that and set your heights, and then you're good to go on that. Then you can throw like an E cam, B cam, whatever, or maybe even an Anderson cam in there, which I'm kind of interested in the Anderson N41 cam. It's not a very high lift cam, but it's got a lot of duration and good for nitrous and stuff like that. So I do plan on spraying this. So we're gonna gap the rings accordingly. Naturally aspirated, you want to gap like, I think it's like between 18 and 20. And you know, on nitrous you want to gap them up, you can gap them up to like 24, 25. So that's probably where I'm going to go with this. Okay, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on here. This T5, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. It's a 4-cylinder T5, so I'm probably just going to sell it and see if I can find a V8 T5, because I don't want to go through the hassle of putting a different pilot bearing in here, you know, in the crank, and just to make this fit, which I'm gonna break it, you know, it's gonna break anyway. So yeah, so I'm back in the V8 game, you know, who would have thought this? But I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of glad I'm doing it, because back when I used to run, you know, a 347, then I had a 438 Dart block, you know, Ultra Street motor. I spent so much money on those motors, and I think I can do more with less now that I know more. You know, I'm a little more knowledgeable on what makes these things, you know, what makes these cars go. It's not necessarily horsepower. So you know, like, I posted the video of you know, the run I made at OSW on Wednesday. I posted it on Facebook, and I've gotten messages from people, because people don't believe that this is a stock 1J. Okay, people aren't, they think that it's a built 1J, and it's absolutely not. 100% not. There is nothing other than stock on this motor except for the turbo, you know, and nitrous kit. That's it. I replaced valve seals. But other than that, this motor's never had the head off. It's never had never had the oil pan off. Nothing. Okay, valve seals. Oh, and the front main seal and a timing belt. It's even got the stock water pump. Everything. So people are like, "Oh, that's not stock," blah blah blah, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to prove it to you, but it is. You know, it's totally stock." Those motors can handle a lot. So what my point is that I know that I can get a lot more out of it now that I know more about chassis tuning and what it takes to get these cars to go, you know, A to B, 60 foot and, you know, all that. So, and gear ratios and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to get started on that, and I'll be ordering the parts soon. And I'm still waiting on the front end kit from Team Z. I think they're probably behind or something. I'm not sure, but it didn't ship until like a week after I ordered it. So it did ship already, so I should probably be getting it next week. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm not 100% sure on induction. I may go carburetor. You know, I don't know. I have carb spacer there, got some carb gaskets. I may do like a weigh-in, makes a good, cheap, a decent carb intake for cheap. So I could do that in like a little 650 carb and a nitrous plate, and it would be a ripper. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about it, and we'll bring more videos on, you know, just putting it together. We're not gonna, you know, I'll check tolerances and all that. I know I have everything I need to do all, you know, the checking of tolerances. I'll show you some of the tools I have. Let's see if they're in here. Yeah, I have a lot of like machining tools. Some that I got left to me from my dad. So he's got a nice, oh, right here. These are bore gauges, or inside diameter gauges, where you put it in there and then you tighten the little end, and then you can measure the bore. Okay, and so what we can do, I have a whole set of those, is we can, you see how it pops open, and then when you tighten the bottom, it locks up. So you would basically just collapse it. This might not even be the right one. Oh yeah, it is. Let's set you guys here. So yeah, you stick it in there like that, okay? Then you just tighten it up, and then you pull it out, and then you can measure it. Okay, and I have a whole set of those, so we can use this to check all the bearing clearances too. So you just put your, we're getting all new bearings, so you put your bearings in, you tighten it down, and you stick your gauge in there, you pull it out, and you can measure it. You know, that's a little better of a way to do it than using like the plastic gauge and stuff like that, you know. So we have that. I mean, it's not like I'm doing this totally like just winging it. I have a, you know, I don't profess to have that much knowledge about engine building. I'm okay. I know enough to get me in trouble, and I know enough to get them running. So yeah, anyway, sorry this video is not as exciting as the last one, but it's more of an update, just letting you guys know what we got going on, and that's it. So I will check you guys next time. We're gonna start ordering parts and get going on that build. So anyway, I will check you all later. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See ya.